moment to think about a safe place you go to feel emotionally secure about your work. A place where all your decisions are always right, where life is always the same. That place where work is okay, everything is okay, work is predictable day in and day out with a steady paycheck. That place where you feel safe, warm, and secure. You know, we all started out in a place that was safe, warm, and secure. Then life began and we had to leave that comfort and security we called home for 9 months and face a strange, unfamiliar, bright new world. Our first breath was painful, but without that painful moment, how different would our life be? I remember watching my children grow from being little infants to young children, and each accomplishment they made required them to step out from that safe, familiar place in mom and dad's arms into that unknown, exciting place of possibilities. The first time they crawled, the first step, their first bite of solid food, and that first day of kindergarten. Each time they ventured out, they gained a little bit more independence. They became a little bit more unique and continued to build on their own personal character. As they grew from being young children into adolescents and then into young adults, they still needed to step out of the comfort of mom and dad and into that unknown world of experiences and possibilities. But as we all grow older and wiser, we begin to realize that there is risk and discomfort in the unknown. At some point in each of our lives, we began to hold back and resist taking risks. It became easier to remain the same rather than stepping out into the unknown, risking our comfort. It became easier to stay in that dead-end job or bad relationship just because it was familiar. It was secure, and besides, the thought of change just seemed so daunting. After all, why break a routine if it's comfortable and working? But fear is not comfortable. Fear is natural, and it can warn you, and it can enable you. But it can also stop you dead in your tracks. Jack Canfield said, everything you want is on the other side of fear. But many of us have difficulty leaving our comfortable life and facing fear. We have these voices that tell us, don't you do that. Don't you dare. Don't you change the routine. Hey, it's nice and comfortable here. Don't change. You've got a paycheck. And the voices, they stop us dead in our tracks, way before we ever get even close to our imaginary boundaries. Having a comfort zone, that's not bad, but eventually it will keep us from learning. It will keep us and hold us back from experiencing new and exciting things in our lives. All it will give us is a fearful, boring life. When my children tried to take their first baby steps, they didn't know the risk. They kept trying to take that first step until they finally did. The risk was way high. Yet, what a transformation in their lives once they mastered that first step. Those first steps opened up a world of limitless possibilities in their lives. The falls, they were soon forgotten. It's easy to look back at life to see how our accomplishments were the result of facing our fears, accepting the risks, and stepping past the imaginary boundaries in our heads. I remember the first time I got on stage to speak. My wife was there. It was the first time she had heard me speak. It was the first time I had told my whole story. It was hard. It was really uncomfortable. But that day I learned that we have the ability to achieve anything we set our minds to, so long as we're willing to face our fears. Whatever goals we set, at some point we will have to face our fears. It will get uncomfortable. It will require us to face the fears and step outside of the comfort zone. But the good news is we've been doing this our entire life. From the first time we took our first breath, to our first steps, to our first day in kindergarten, to who we've become today. We've been doing this all along. Maybe it's time to be a kid again. Maybe it's time to stretch the limits just like a kid, taking our first steps. Outside our comfort zone is where the magic happens. It's where we grow. It's where we learn, and it's where we expand our horizons beyond imagination. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to step outside our comfort zone and experience the magic once again.